I said no once. That's all it took. Mark snapped, we're a family. I stayed quiet. Ashley said, not to you. And suddenly I was the. It didn't even start as a fight. It started like any normal conversation. Dinner was already over. Plates stacked, dishwasher humming, the kind of quiet that usually meant the day was done. I was wiping the table, slow, steady, trying not to think about anything. Mark was sitting across from me, staring at his phone longer than usual. I knew that look. Something was coming. He finally set the phone down. We need to talk about Daniel. I didn't look up right away. Okay. He exhaled like he'd been holding that in all night. Tuition's coming up. I thought I had more saved, but I don't. I nodded once. Not surprised. Daniel had just gotten into a college in Boise, and Mark had been proud for weeks. Talking about it nonstop. Showing acceptance emails like they were trophies. But pride doesn't pay tuition. Mark leaned forward slightly. I think we should help him. Together. That word again. We. I finally looked at him. What do you mean we? He frowned like I'd missed something obvious. We're a family, Michelle. I set the cloth down. We agreed on separate finances. That was before this, he said quickly. No, I said, calm. That was always. There was a pause. The kind that feels heavier than it should. Mark rubbed his face. You know I can't cover all of this. I know, I said. And you can. There it was. Not a question. A statement. I kept my voice even. Daniel has 2 parents. Mark's expression changed immediately. Tight. Defensive. So that's it? You're just not involved. I am involved, I said. Just not financially responsible for everything. That's not what I'm asking, he snapped. I'm asking you to help. And I'm saying no. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. Just clear. And somehow that made it worse. Mark leaned back like I'd hit him. You're serious? Yes. You have the money. That doesn't mean I owe it. His jaw tightened. You're unbelievable. I didn't respond. Because I knew this wasn't going to stay between us. It never does. The next morning, Ashley barely looked at me. Usually, she'd at least say something, ask about school, complain about something small, normal stuff. But that day? Nothing. Just a quick glance. Then gone. I noticed it, but I didn't say anything. By the afternoon, it got worse. She came home, dropped her bag harder than usual, and went straight upstairs. No, hi. No eye contact. That kind of silence isn't random. It's intentional. And it told me one thing. Mark had already said something. Daniel didn't say much either. But when he passed me in the hallway, there was this look. Not anger. Not exactly. Disappointment. Like I'd failed some expectation I didn't even agree to. And that part stuck with me more than anything. Because I never promised to be their parent. I never said I'd take on that role. From the beginning, I was clear. I'm their dad's wife. That's it. That doesn't mean I don't care. I've shown up. I've helped where I could. I've been present. But there's a difference between being present and being responsible for everything. That night, things got worse. Mark didn't even wait for privacy this time. We were all in the same room. Ashley on her phone. Daniel at the table. Me near the kitchen. And Mark just said it. She doesn't want to help with your tuition. Just like that. No build-up. No context. Ashley looked up immediately. What? Daniel didn't move. I felt the shift before anyone even spoke again. I looked at Mark. That's not what I said. Then say it, he challenged. So I did. I'm not paying for college. Silence. Heavy. Immediate. Ashley let out a small laugh. Not amused. Just sharp. Wow. Daniel finally spoke, quiet. Okay. That was it. Just okay. And somehow that felt worse than yelling. Ashley shook her head. We're your family too, you know. I didn't answer. Because I didn't have one that wouldn't make it worse. Mark looked at me like I'd just proven his point. This is exactly what I was talking about. No, I said quietly. This is you putting me on the spot. You should be on the spot, he snapped. This affects all of us. I held my ground. It's still my decision. Ashley stood up suddenly. Yeah, and you made it clear. She walked off before I could say anything. Daniel stayed seated, but he didn't look at me again. And, just like that, everything shifted. The house didn't feel the same after that. It wasn't loud. It wasn't constant fighting. It was worse. It was quiet. Cold. Ashley stopped talking to me unless she had to. Short answers. No eye contact. Daniel kept things polite but distant. Like I was someone he didn't fully trust anymore. And Mark? He went back and forth between arguing and saying nothing at all. Which somehow felt heavier. Like he was waiting for me to change my mind. Waiting for me to fix it. But I wasn't going to. Because if I gave in now, I knew exactly what would happen. It wouldn't stop at college. It never does. And that's the part no one wanted to say out loud. I wasn't just being asked to help. I was being pulled into something permanent. Something I never agreed to. And I was already holding on to a truth I hadn't told them yet. Something that would make all of this so much worse. I just didn't realize how soon it was going to come out. It came out because I got careless. That's the truth. Not because I wanted to tell them. Not because I was ready. Just one moment where I didn't double check. I left my laptop open. That's all it took. It was a Saturday. Quiet house. Mark had stepped out. Daniel was in his room. Ashley was somewhere downstairs, I think. I had been handling a transfer. Lisa's tuition deposit. I remember staring at the number before I hit send. Not because I couldn't afford it, but because I knew what it meant. Not just money. Commitment. History. Choice. I closed the laptop, or at least I thought I did. I went upstairs to grab something, maybe a charger, I don't even remember. When I came back down, Ashley was sitting at the table. My laptop open in front of her. My stomach dropped immediately. She didn't look surprised. She looked calm. Too calm. She turned the screen toward me slightly. So this is where your money goes. I didn't speak. For a second, I thought about lying. Closing the laptop. Brushing it off. But something in her face told me that wouldn't work. She already knew enough. It's not what you think, I said. She let out a small laugh. Really? I stepped closer. Ashley. No, she cut me off. Just answer one thing. Her voice was steady, but I could hear something under it. Hurt. Why her? She asked. That question again. The same one that had been hanging over everything. I tried to explain. Lisa doesn't have the same support she's been dealing with. We don't. Ashley snapped. I stopped. Because that wasn't the argument. Not really. This isn't about comparing, I said carefully. I've been planning this for years. Ashley shook her head slowly. So you've been hiding it. It wasn't hiding. It was to us. That landed harder than I expected. Before I could respond, she said it. You said no to Daniel, but you already said yes to someone else. I didn't answer. Because that part was true. And she saw it. That's when Mark walked in. Perfect timing. He looked between us immediately. What's going on? Ashley didn't even hesitate. Ask her. My chest tightened. Mark looked at me. Michelle? Ashley turned the laptop toward him. She's paying for someone else's college. Silence. Heavy. Instant. Mark stepped closer, eyes scanning the screen. His expression changed fast. Confusion. Then realization. Then something sharper. Who is Lisa? He asked. My niece, I said. That word didn't help. Mark let out a short, disbelieving laugh. Your niece. I stayed still. You told me you weren't comfortable helping, he said slowly. But you're doing this? It's not the same, I said. Explain that to me, he snapped. I held my ground. I've been planning this for years. Before you. Before this. So what? He shot back. That makes it okay? It makes it different. No, he said immediately. It makes it worse. Ashley stepped in. It means she chose. That word again. Chose. And suddenly everything was out in the open. Mark looked at me like he didn't recognize me anymore. You've been sitting there this whole time, acting like you have boundaries, but really you just didn't want to help us. That's not true, I said. Then what is it? He pushed. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're willing to spend money, just not on this family. I didn't raise my voice. I never said I was responsible for everything, I said quietly. You're not, he shot back. But this is different. This is Daniel's future. And Lisa's isn't? I said. That stopped him for a second. Just long enough. Then he shook his head. Don't twist this. I'm not twisting anything, I said. I'm being consistent. Ashley laughed again, sharper this time. Consistent? You mean consistent about not caring about us? That hit. I won't pretend it didn't. But I didn't back down. I care about you, I said. Not enough, she replied instantly. Silence filled the room again. This time heavier. Mark finally spoke, quieter now. You should have told me. It wasn't your decision, I said. It affects me, he said. It affects my money, I answered. That was the wrong thing to say. I saw it immediately. His expression changed again. Closed off. So that's what this is, he said. Yours. I didn't respond. Because it was. That night, no one spoke to me. Not at dinner. Not after. Ashley stayed in her room. Daniel left the house for hours. Mark slept on the couch. And I sat in the bedroom alone, staring at nothing, replaying everything. Not the argument. The words. You chose. I kept going back to that. Because I had. I just didn't expect to be forced to say it out loud. The next few days were worse. No yelling. No big confrontations. Just distance. Cold, steady distance. Ashley stopped acknowledging me completely. Daniel was polite, but it felt forced. Like he was doing it out of obligation, not respect. And Mark? He barely looked at me. When he did, it wasn't anger anymore. It was something else. Disappointment. And that somehow cut deeper. A week later, Daniel finalized his loans. I found out because I overheard him on the phone. Yeah, I'll just take the full amount, he said. It's fine. It wasn't fine. We both knew that. But I didn't step in. I didn't offer. I stayed where I was. Because stepping in now would mean something. It would mean I broke my own line. And once that line moves, it doesn't stop. That's the part no one understands unless they've lived it. It doesn't stay just this once. It becomes expected, normalized, permanent. And suddenly, you're not choosing anymore. You're just obligated. A few days later, Mark finally said something. We were in the kitchen again. Same place it started. He didn't look at me when he spoke. I don't know how to come back from this. I swallowed. From what? He finally turned. From realizing you don't see us the same way we see you. I didn't answer right away. Because that was the truth, wasn't it? Not the version he wanted. But still the truth. I never said I did, I said quietly. He shook his head. No. You just never said you didn't. That stayed with me. Still does. Because now everything is different. Daniel's in Boise. Ashley barely speaks to me. Mark and I exist in the same house, but it doesn't feel like a marriage anymore. More like two people waiting for the other to decide what happens next. And me? I paid Lisa's tuition. Helped her move into Portland. Watched her step into a life she wouldn't have had otherwise. And I felt proud. And guilty. At the same time. Which I guess says everything. Because I didn't lose everything. But I didn't walk away clean either. So now I keep asking myself the same thing over and over. Did I protect my boundaries? Or did I just prove that I was never really part of this family to begin with?